Hello everyone, Lisa Gokenauer here again. Today I want to explore a distinction that many Americans struggle to make, the difference between freedom and liberty. While often used interchangeably, their meanings diverge when examined through classical philosophy, historical linguistics, and political thought. To start, let's turn to Plato and Aristotle, who discuss freedom and liberty primarily in the context of democracy. In politics, Aristotle describes freedom in a democratic state as the ability for individuals to live as they choose. He equates the absence of personal autonomy with a form of slavery, implying that freedom is the ability to act according to one's own desires without external constraint. Liberty, by contrast, is a foundational principle of democracy. It is tied to the idea that all citizens should have the opportunity to rule and be ruled in turn, emphasizing equality among members of the state. In the Republic, Plato reinforces this view, suggesting that liberty is closely associated with equality, where the will of the majority is supreme. We can further clarify this distinction by examining linguistic origins. In his introductory lecture from Module 1, Liberty's own Dr. Carey Roberts discusses the etymology of freedom and liberty, tracing them to different cultural contexts. Freedom has Northern European and Germanic roots. The Old English freedom combines freo, or free, and dom, state or condition. Related to the Proto-Germanic friaz, meaning beloved or dear, this suggests freedom historically implied belonging to a kinship group. A free person was integrated into a community rather than an enslaved outsider. Thus, freedom is tied to tradition and social bonds. Liberty, however, comes from the Latin libertas, derived from liber, free, as in not a slave. In Rome, libertas was a key political concept referring to personal autonomy and civic rights. The Romans contrasted it with servitus, or slavery, making it central to republican ideals. Over time, liberty took on legal, philosophical, and political meanings tied to democracy and sovereignty. Unlike freedom, liberty is rooted in structured rights and responsibilities. From this, we see a distinction. Freedom is connected to cultural identity and personal autonomy, while liberty is structured within political and legal systems. This distinction is reinforced by early modern political philosophers, including Thomas Hobbes and John Locke. Hobbes, in Leviathan, describes a state of nature where humans, if left unchecked, exist in perpetual conflict, what he famously called a war of all against all. To escape this, people surrender freedoms to a sovereign in exchange for order. For Hobbes, absolute freedom, the ability to act without restraint, leads to chaos. Liberty, in contrast, emerges within a social contract where individuals retain only those freedoms that do not undermine civil peace. True liberty, he argues, exists under a strong central authority, preventing anarchy. John Locke, in 2 treatises of government, offers a different perspective, one that influenced America's founding. Locke argues that individuals are naturally free, but possess inherent rights, life, liberty, property, that government must protect. Unlike Hobbes, Locke advocates limited government, existing only to safeguard natural rights. For Locke, liberty is not merely the absence of restraint, but the ability to live within a system ensuring rights are respected. A legitimate government functions with the consent of the governed, maintaining laws that protect individual freedom. Thus, Hobbes and Locke highlight the distinction between freedom and liberty. Hobbes sees freedom as dangerous and contends that liberty thrives under a strong sovereign. Locke, however, views freedom as a natural right and argues that liberty is best preserved through limited government and the rule of law. This distinction carries into modern discourse. In English, freedom often conveys a sense of personal independence, like freedom of thought, freedom of movement, or freedom from oppression. Liberty, however, is more commonly used in discussions of governance, rights, and legal frameworks, such as civil liberties, religious liberty, or political liberty. Understanding this difference is crucial as we continue our study of Western civilization. While these terms are often used interchangeably, recognizing their historical and philosophical roots can help us appreciate the nuances in discussions of governance, rights, and social structures. As we move forward in this course, keeping this distinction in mind, will provide a more precise lens for analyzing the evolution of political thought and the development of democratic institutions. Thank you, and I look forward to our discussions.